organism has a biological clock. A biological clock is an innate timing device that tells organisms when to do an activity, such as photosynthesis with a plant or cellular respiration in a mammal. Just like animals, plants react to their environment, but not in the same way. If I was to take this flower and say, bite its head off, it wouldn't have the same reaction as if I did that to, say, a squirrel. So they react, but in different ways. Plants have light photoreceptors in their leaves, which is pretty crazy because they can detect all things that have to do with light. They can detect the light direction. They can even detect the light intensity, which is absolutely mind-boggling. There are two types of light receptors. There's blue light and red light. Blue light photoreceptors trigger phototropism, and that's when the plant can detect the direction of the sun. Red light receptors are also known as phytochromes, and that's what triggers the flower's flowering or blooming. There's two types of phytochromes. There's phytochrome red, also known as PR, and then there's phytochrome far red, which is known as PFR. These phytochromes are what trigger the flowering of plants. Can we get a visual? Visual! The flowers in the morning produce PR, which start the initial bloom, and then light shows up and it's pretty intense, so that turns into PFR. And then in the night, the PFR turns back into PR and the whole cycle starts over again. As you can see, light plays a big role in the flowering of plants, and that's when the biological clock comes into play. A plant's biological clock can tell when more light is around. That's why plants say bloomed longer in the summer, because there's more light around. Let's use this head as an example. Say this is the Earth. It's on an axis and it spins. And then we'll freeze frame it right here. Say we are right here on the Earth. Boom, sun. Sun is shining really brightly on where we live, meaning the biological clock of the plants want to make the plants bloom longer. During the summertime, that is. Another plant hormone that has been found is called phlorogen, and it initiates the flowering of all the plants. The flowers that we see in summer and springtime are typically known as long day plants. These mean that they need more than 14 hours of sunlight to flower. These are typically found in spring or early summer. But not all plants need the summertime light, like soybeans or poinsettias. These are short-term plants, which mean they only need less than 14 hours of sunlight to bloom. They're typically found in fall and winter. But there's another kind of plant. These are called day-neutral plants, and they're typically annual vegetables, maybe rice or tomatoes, that don't really get affected by the amount of sunlight. And now you know a little bit more about how light affects the biological clock of a plant. And maybe next time when you're walking down the sidewalk and see one of these bad boys, maybe lean down, whisper in its ear, "You're doing a good job, buddy." Because guess what? It is doing a good job. It's doing a good job of taking the light and turning it into something beautiful for us.